the teaching artist with Metal Arts, a nonprofit out of Twist, Washington. Today we're going to be creating recycled flower collages. This involves using random recycled paper from your recycling bin. So everybody's is going to look different. And we added embellishments with some crayons. So this project, all you're going to need is scissors for sure, recycled paper, whatever you have around, and a glue stick, and then crayons if you'd like to add a little bit of embellishment. In this video, there's lots of cutting, and some of us take different amounts of time to cut, right? So it's okay to always pause and catch up. And in just a moment, we'll gather our materials, and I'll show you my recycling pile of paper, and we'll get started cutting. See you in a moment. Okay, so here is an idea of what we're making, and for this one I used a piece of cereal box for the background, so I'm going to put that aside for now. This is my pile of recycling I salvaged. This is like an old junk mail envelope. We've got some notebook paper, some packing paper or paper bag. I tried to look for different colors. Some things are thicker than others, and I had a cereal box here that I thought had lots of fun colors, but I also thought I could cut this out and make that my background. So I have crayons in case I want to add color. I have my glue stick, and I have my scissors. So if you cut paper that's thicker than normal paper, it'll be a little harder to cut. But I'm going to go ahead and make my background. You can use just a piece of regular paper for your background if you desire. But real quick, I'm just going to grab one of my recycled things, and I'm going to cut a rectangle. I like having a little bit more sturdy material for my background if possible, but we just use what we have. We're all going to have different kinds of recycling in our recycling piles. So here's my background. I've got that ready now. This is my cereal box, so I'm going to use this side of it. And then in our example, I had made a flower pot, so I'm going to do my pot first. This one I used brown paper, and then I colored it with color crayons. You could use newspaper, anything you have will work. So looking through my pile, I might use this yellow piece of paper for my pot this time. And so I want my flower pot to be smaller than half my paper so I have room for my flower. So I'm just going to cut a rectangle out of here and get it easy to work with. And then I'm going to decide how big I want my flower pot. I think I'll cut a straight bottom, and then I'm going to make my flower pot this high. Now flower pots have sides that angle in, so I'll just take my scissors and carefully cut an angle that way and an angle this way. And now I have a shape that kind of looks like a flower pot, right? So as I get my pieces cut, I'm going to go ahead and glue them as I go. Otherwise, they might get lost in my pile of recycled materials here. So I have a flower pot. I'm going to glue that down. Now, if you want to decorate your flower pot, it's a good time to do that. You can use whatever color you have that's different than the color of your pot. Usually there's like a a stripe at the top, right? That's different. Maybe this one I'll make polka dots on my flower pot. It's kind of fun. My other one I did zigzags. So you can decorate it however you'd like. And maybe across the top here I'll just lightly fill that in. If you have newspaper and you cut it out, it looks really fun to color with color crayons over newspaper and have the letters show through. So that's also cool. Okay, so I have a flower pot, but now I need a flower. So we gotta decide what color our flower is going to be. If you don't have any colorful paper, you can always take a scrap piece of paper and use a crayon and just color like this all over the paper, and then we can cut shapes out. So that's an option. I have some red paper here and some purple. I think I'll use red, and I'm going to cut out as many leaves as I can for my petals, or sorry, not leaves, petals. So it's easier to cut strips first, and then I'm going to just make it easier so when I hold it and I cut a curved shape that I don't cut my fingers. So I'm just going to curve it, and this flower petal is going to have words on it, but that's kind of cool, right? So it's just a curve on both sides. So I curve my scissors, I'm going to turn it, curve my scissors, and make a petal shape. And I'll cut another strip. You can make different color petals if you have different colors of recycled materials handy. Like a rainbow flower. You can make a white flower. I'm just going to cut a few petals. Always being careful of how you use your scissors. My flower is getting pretty giant here. And I want to have room for my stem, so cut a couple more petals. And of course, pause this because I am cutting pretty fast, and it's important to cut at your own pace and be safe with your cutting. So you can pause it at any time. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 petals. And I think I'll go ahead and glue those down, something in a flower shape. And then we'll cut our center in a different color. So you can fast forward me if you want to. All of our petals. Glue sticks work great, but you can also use liquid glue or tape if you don't have anything else. Recycled art lets us use our imagination in the materials that we have on hand. Alright, so you can glue the background like that and stick it on, or you can glue the pieces. And I even have one that pokes off the edge. That's okay. So, I have my flower glued down and I have my flower pot, but I need a stem and maybe some leaves, and I need a center for my flower. So, let's search through here. What do I have for a center? Blue would be cool. Green would be cool. How about I'll use blue? Something different. So I'm just going to cut a circle shape. And of course you'll be using whatever you have. That'll be the center of my flower. And I'll just put some glue right there. Stick it on. And now I need a stem that goes into my pot. So I noticed on this cereal box there's green in the background. I could use that. I think it would be cool to make a stem out of a strip of notebook paper. We're going to use what we have. So I am going to cut my cereal box. Oh, it's tough. And safely cut a little strip. And then I'll bring it up to my flower and I'll measure because I don't need it to go that far. So I'm just going to kind of line it up, and I might just bend it so I know where to cut my flower. And then we'll put a line down, and that's my stem. If you want leaves, you can do that too. Leaf shapes are like our petals, right? Sometimes when you glue thicker pieces down, you might need to add a little bit more glue. So I'm just going to make little tiny leaves because I don't have a lot of space. So I have 2 little leaves here that I am going to put on. I know my area is so messy. This one's just going to be poking out of the pot area. So it's growing out of my flower pot. Now I have a flower in a pot, and on this example I have this little notebook fringy paper down here as grass. So I was going to show you how to do that real quick. You can use any kind of paper, but it needs to be kind of thin. And since I use notebook paper, I'll use that again. And I just cut, about 4 lines up. So I have a strip that's about 4 lines of notebook paper. Get rid of this little part. And then I want to kind of measure it because I want it to go across my page here, my art. So I'll fold it there and I'll know where to cut it. So that's going to be my grass. But to make the fringe, what you do is you take your paper and you cut it, but you don't cut all the way, just part. And you keep making these little cuts, but I'm not going all the way down. I'm just going part way, see? And I'm being careful of my fingers. The fun part of collage is you can do so many different cool cuts with paper. So now I have this part cut, and I didn't cut all the way through. If you do, you can always glue it. And then I'm going to put a stripe of glue at the bottom. This is going to be like my grass. I'm going to push it down, and then I can just kind of bend these little pieces up, and it looks like there's some grass on my flower pot. See that? It's still glued on the side here, but the top is bent up. So if I clear away all my mess, and I always put my glue stick lid on right away so it doesn't dry out, and move all of our things to the side, you can see there's 2 different ways to make a flower pot with a spring flower growing in it out of recycled materials that you find around your house. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I hope you found a way to make a bright colorful flower with paper, or coloring with crayons on paper and adding details. Thanks so much.